the end of it.
That is.
All right, so let's open F7.
F7. Oh, okay. Presentation by County Judge's Transportation Task Force to recommend prioritization of road projects. And I have 2 comments on that.
Okay, let's do that. And I'm doing that to keep it all together.
Okay.
First, we'll finish the comments, and then you'll go up, okay?
Okay.
And you stay
I'm
there.
sorry.
No. Stay there. But just know that I want to let her read first.
Yeah.
It's our protocol. Let
Okay.
her read first, and then you go.
Okay.
And, sir, there are 3. The first one is from Leah McIntosh from Dripping Springs. Hayes County Commissioners Court, I wish to express my support for allocating funds under the proposed certificates of obligation for road improvements during the upcoming fiscal year, limited to roads on the eastern side of Hayes County, where there are numerous issues with road quality and repairs that have long been neglected. I do not support allocation of funds for speculative design of new roads in environmentally sensitive regions in the western portion of Hayes County, particularly around the Dripping Springs Southwest Connection, which will present severe damage to the quality of Onion Creek and the waterways into which these creeks feed, including Barton Springs and San Marcos Springs. This proposed road project will also open up unwanted rampant development in the southwest area of Precinct 4, which is currently beautiful undeveloped ranch land and should remain untouched. This second one is from Patty Arnold, also in Dripping. Funds are limited and should be used for growth that will benefit residents now, not for projects that are based on speculation about future growth. Hayes County population centers are along the I-35 corridor. Projects in Kyle, Buda, and San Marcos should be prioritized because those projects will have immediate positive impact. Yes, there are some worthy projects in western Hayes County, but the Southwest 150 connection is not one of them. In addition to there being no present demand for such a highway, the route makes no sense topographically or environmentally. The terrain is rugged, the route crosses multiple water features, and the construction costs will be commensurately higher than a less sensitive route. This can objectively be determined by reviewing the topography as shown in a U.S. Geographical Survey map. This map shows the location of the southwest corner of the proposed roadway. The proposed location of the north-south portion between 290 and 150 is just to the west of the leftmost vertical orange line, and the eastern proposed 150 is just to the north of the second of the bottom orange line. At the southwest corner of the proposed 150, the east-west span goes between 2 hilltops and is located in a wet weather creek. The north-south portion from that corner up to Onion Creek runs a fairly deep gully. Most likely, long bridges and massive detention ponds will be required if the road stays in this location presently proposed. If you are not well versed in interpreting topo maps, I encourage you to consult an impartial person who has such proficiency, which one would be anyone who has not been advocating for this roadway. That person will confirm that the terrain on the proposed route is not conducive to construction of a 4-lane highway. And as a postscript, when the first road was first proposed, Commissioner Walt Smith told me that the location of the north-south portion was chosen because it crossed Onion Creek at its narrowest. Commissioner Smith is misinformed. I own that land as well as about 3/4 of a mile of creekfront property in the immediate area and can assure you that it is not the narrowest portion of the creek nor the best location to site the proposed roadway. Patrice Arnold. This is from Jeremy Higdon of Dripping. Please follow the recommendations of the Countywide Transportation Committee and direct the majority of funding to repairing and improving existing roads in the rapidly growing eastern part of the county. I urge you to stop the funding for the Dripping Springs Southwest Connection and Yerington Road projects. These roads are overwhelmingly opposed in their precincts because they would spur development in highly sensitive aquifer recharge zones, threatening our drinking water, damaging recreational springs, and undermining the San Marcos River, our county's economic lifeline. Continuing to fund these unwanted projects will force residents to petition for a public vote on the certificates of obligation, delaying improvements for everyone. Respect the will of the people, honor the committee's recommendations, and fund only the roads that your voters need and support. And that's all.
Awesome. If you'll state your name and title for the viewing public, and now you may proceed.
Good morning, Judge Becerra, Commissioners. Some of you have been looking at me and trying to figure out what's different. I lost a bet on my horns.
I'm sorry. Sorry to
My
interrupt.
name? David
Sorry.
Patterson. I've only lived in Hayes County for 43 years, built my own house, nail by nail and board by board, and been very involved in civics.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
I'm
Sorry
gonna
for the
start
interruption.
again. Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Some of you have been looking at me trying to figure out what's different. I lost a bet on the horn Saturday, so I had to shave my beard on Sunday morning. It's been 55 years since I've seen my upper lip and chin. No worries, it'll grow back in 2 weeks. But that's not the worst thing. I got up this morning, my presentation was gone off Google Docs. So before I start the presentation for the group, I have a couple of things to say. Maybe we can avoid this kind of impasse in the future. I ask this court to start using the internet more effectively. If this court had put the details of the road bond package online, the why, the where, the when, with maps and the cost of each road project, and asked for feedback, and then acted on what your constituents told you, there probably would not have been a lawsuit. I say this next with all due respect, knowing that we're all human and make mistakes. Lord knows I do. I have heard from the court, members of the court, blaming the overturning of the road bonds on the folks that brought the suit. If you're looking to blame someone, look in the mirror. The lawsuit was successful because this court did not dot all the I's and cross all the T's. It's that simple. When you blame folks that brought the lawsuit, you set them up for possible harm. There are 250,000 angry drivers in Hayes County, and some of them are crazy enough to shoot you. Okay, now the report from the task force. I want to thank Judge Becerra for convening this task force and all of the task force people that volunteered, stepped up, and spent their time. This is what we came up with. We got 3 lists. Do it, and I'm going to read them. FM 200 East Interim, number 1. I'm just going to read, not going to give you the numbers. Old Bastrop Highway, CR 266. High Road, CR 127. FM 150 East, Goforth Road, Leah Avenue, William Pettis Extension, Button, Gristmill, Dar Road, Fitzhugh Road, County Road 101, Sawyer Ranch Road, Old San Antonio Road, Darden Hill Road, County Road 162, Phase 2, FM 150 East, Windy Hill Road Interim, Cotton Gin Road, County Road 219, Windy Hill Road Roundabout, Goforth Road. That's 18 projects approved. And so this is our do it list.
There's also, sorry to interrupt, Hillside Terrace, all the way to 23.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, I don't have it on my sheet.
That's good. And the commissioners each have a copy of this, but since you don't have it on yours, there was a second page, I'll read the last 5.
Okay.
Hillside Terrace, and I'm sorry that FM 150 East, and I'm sorry that FM 150 East was duplicated on the list. But also, the do-it list includes Hillside Terrace, FM 2001 Gap, Windy Hill Road, Centerpoint Road, and Old Kyle Road. That's the last of the do-it list.
Okay, and the do it list is get the shovels out, get going, do it right now. We need these roads. Okay? The second group is defer it. And one of the projects was the Sawyer Ranch pedestrian walkway. And we sort of chuckled at that one. This is so people can drive golf carts to get their kids to school. We got roads on the east side that haven't been redone in 50 years.
I would correct one thing there.
What's that?
It's actually posted for no golf carts, and it's only for school traffic between 4 campuses.
Okay, well, we thought that should be
I'm
something.
sorry for the interruption, but that's what the defer, he's explaining what the defer list is
And
about.
it's okay. Here's what we didn't like. That's public dollars. That's kind of a she project. We got people in East Hayes County that have been suffering for 50 years. So we put that one to defer. Okay, that's all I'm doing is telling you what the task force came up with. Defer also Yarrington Road Extension, Segment 1. Defer Yarrington Road Extension, Segment 2, and Darden Hill Road Extension. These are the ones that are on defer. Then we get up to the last group, delay. Dripping Springs Southwest Connection, RM12, RM150 intersection safety improvements. Dripping Springs Southwest Connection. That's it. These are there for possibly the future. The defer is maybe sooner than those that we delayed. But we got a bunch of projects. 75% of the roads that were in the bond were approved by this task force. So I ask you as commissioners to please listen to your constituents. That's kind of what you guys are supposed to do. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Now, it's customary on this, just in case, I want to open it to the commissioners if they want to say anything. Now's the time for the conversation. Commissioners on this side, anything you want to say or add to this effort?
Not, Judge, I mean, I appreciate the report. Thank you so much for providing it. Yeah, I guess it's difficult, Judge, because this court voted unanimously to move forward with all the roads, and now we have this, and I understand, you know, the public wanted more input, and I appreciate that, but yeah, I mean, I'll certainly take a look at it, and thanks.
Do I get a chance to respond to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. This would have never happened. We wouldn't be at this impasse. They'd be building the roads already if these kind of task forces were there and then you guys actually listened and respected what we wanted.
And Mr. Patterson, I'd like to add, Commissioner, my piece on your comment. It's I don't want to say argument because it's not an argument, that's just the word that comes to mind, but the point of view, the perspective, I think that's a better phrasing, of voter approved the whole list. This recommendation isn't about not doing or killing anything. It's about choosing a prioritization sequence. So it's not an argument of we're going to do this, we're not going to do this. It's let's do this first, let's do this now, this is most pressing, let's prioritize in this sequence is what the list hopefully can be part of the biggest takeaway. But it's not a don't do it, voters didn't approve it or any of that stuff. Commissioner Cohen?
Well, I mean, like Commissioner Inglesby said, the court did approve these projects through for the CO intent, and that's how we've been moving forward on our budget. What I don't believe is that this task force is not a true representation of this county. Like, how many of these individuals were from Precinct 1, Precinct 2?
There were people from every precinct.
Okay, and so the feedback that I got from 2 members of this task force was that this group was very anti-development, anti-road. And so they were concerned that they wanted to participate in this task force because they wanted to be part of this process, which I commend them for doing that. But my other issue with this is that there are members of this task force that we are currently in litigation with. So to me, that doesn't seem very responsible to allow people that we are in litigation with on this task force that will definitely make this task force lean a certain way.
I did not know that. However, I can't run for office. I have a screwed up back. I can't sit, I can't stand long. But if I was in office, the first thing I would do would be listen to my constituents. And I think this process that we did was exactly that. And what we're telling you is that if you take a survey on the internet on all of these projects, you'll get a better sample. You'll really find out what your constituents want. You're not supposed to rule over us. You're supposed to work for us. That's why we pay you. So please listen to your constituents. You think we're anti-growth? Here's the problem with that statement. Everybody along I-35 is going to get Carrizo-Wilcox water. It's already being hooked up. During the next drought of record, all the people not hooked up run the risk of their wells going dry. And this county does not even know how many people are on sole source underground water. We haven't even done a study. It could be 40% of the population. You're going to wreck the property values of those people. You're going to wreck the lifestyle of those people. It's not about anti-growth. It's about conserving our water resources.
I'm just telling you what was said by members of this
Yes,
task
but that's hearsay, and
No, it's not hearsay. They are members of this task force.
they did not communicate that to the major task force.
Well, they were concerned enough to tell me.
And if you take one little person on the task force, or two, whatever the litigation is, and wipe out what we've done, once again, you're not working for the people. And that's all I ask my elected officials to do. Any more questions?
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I'm trying to go through it. Commissioner Hammer?
Core members, how many public meetings did y'all host prior to coming out with the road bond in your own precincts?
I can tell you that there were 23 public meetings and 124 meetings with stakeholder and advisory groups prior on the specific projects in the road bond prior to them being inserted into the road bond.
Well, okay, may I
Okay,
ask
hold
this
on,
question?
I'm not done yet,
Oh,
sir.
I'm
Thank you
sorry.
very much. No, you're good. You said that we are not able to use the internet appropriately. That's what you just said in
I
your
asked you to
opinion.
use it more effectively.
Okay, you didn't know that people in this task force were in a lawsuit with us. Multiple members of this task force were in a lawsuit with us.
What does that have to do with the internet?
You can look up who's in a lawsuit and you can know who's on the task force. There's less than 30 people on the task force, is that correct?
Yeah, well, that's all I
Okay,
do all
okay.
day is look up on the internet.
No. You just told us to look up things effectively and you would have known that.
No, what I
if you
said
would
was
look that up.
use it.
Let's, do me a favor, Mr. Patterson. I'm still going to try to run this meeting as efficiently as possible. Let her say her things, and then you
Okay,
can reply.
I do have a reply.
So back and forth won't work for me.
Do you know when the Yarrington Extension first hit a master plan within the county?
No, I
What
don't.
year? 2005. Do you know what that consisted of and why that became on the plan for Kyle?
No, I don't.
Because it came of a task force that figured out the goals of Kyle and how they wanted to see moving forward. They wanted to reroute something downtown. Have you ever been to downtown Kyle?
Many, many times, 42 years.
Do you know how annoying it is to go through downtown Kyle?
I know how annoying it is to drive in
Exactly.
Hays County anywhere.
So
Sorry.
So one of the goals, and it actually hit from, there was 100 goals listed, and then this task force was asked to bring it down to 10 goals. One of those 10 goals was to reroute traffic from downtown Kyle. Thus, the Yarrington Extension was born, and that's when it was put into the Kyle plan. So I understand what you're saying, but you're coming here with no understanding of all of the plans and when they came to be and the fruition of all of them. Also, I don't even think you understand that there is a lot of environmental feasibility studies that are taken from each and every one of these projects. We don't just randomly pop anywhere on the map and say this is where we're going to put a road. I just want that to be very clear and made evident, because these projects have already millions of dollars attached to them. These are continuous projects from already previous road bonds. So we're not gonna have 30 people in the county who are all, for the most part, against all these projects, or most of them in the west side, tell us how the people who are currently at work and trying to provide for their family that don't have that time, tell us how to run the county. Just wanna make that very clear.
Okay, well, I have a point. If you really want the opinion of people, Buda does surveys. They send out, I'm not talking about internet for me to research, I'm talking about it for you to really get the opinions of your constituents. It's very easy. We should be live streaming all of these open houses. The technology is there. Now, my second question is, how many people came to those open houses? Did you keep an attendance record?
Literally thousands.
Okay, thousands, so 5,000?
I don't know, take
No,
a
no,
while,
no.
Over a 20-year period, and I'm not even
No,
including.
I'm talking about the recent ones.
The road
We
bonds.
can use, I know in the open houses that I hosted,
I'll give you 5,000. Don't you think that's a reasonable figure?
I think that there was probably less than that.
Okay, Good, I'm glad you said that. There are 335,000 people living in Hayes County today. That's 1%. 5,000 people going to those open houses is 1%. You could get a 40% participation rate if you really want to know what your constituents think by using this thing we call the internet. Not for research, but for publicity and awareness. That's really all I got.
Thank you. Last one, we're almost
Oh,
done.
oh, sorry.
Commissioner Smith.
I want to make a couple of points here. You know, like I said, 23 public meetings, 124 meetings with stakeholders and
1%.
advisory groups. Are you all right, sir?
Commissioner Hammer,
I'm okay.
please. Commissioner Hammer, please.
I'm sorry.
Are you all right, sir? I want to be able to finish my comment.
I'm sorry.
I've
I'm very
already asked
passionate about this,
I
as you can
understand
tell.
that. I
Commissioner
think
Smith,
it's
I've already
obvious
asked them.
that all of us are, or we wouldn't be
I
here.
apologize.
Additionally, 9 of the projects which have been started were all of which were included in our master transportation plan. Every single project has a public outreach portion, especially the majority of them on here are design projects. They're not construction projects. And so the actual public input on what the finalized design for those roadways will be determined over the next 2 to 3 years. For example, Fitzhugh Road, we made a commitment that it would remain a 2-lane roadway with turn lanes specifically and only at the major intersections. The first one of those public meetings were held last week at Beer Bird Brewing in Dripping Springs on Fitzhugh Road. It was well attended. I think that it was distributed by Fitzhugh Neighbors, who is a large group there. I had nothing but positive feedback about that. I will tell you that whenever I go to conferences and we talk about public outreach, one of the gold standard public outreach efforts that has ever been conducted was the 150 character study. It was conducted between 2013 and 2017. I was a citizen in the county. I went to those meetings. There was like 87 public meetings. They had a cap that had multiple meetings, I think 18 public meetings with numerous participants, stakeholder groups there. One of the projects that came out of that is the 150 and 12 roundabout. To Commissioner Hammer's point, that roundabout at 150 and 12, which is a don't do project, it was first included in as well as the Southwest Connector. It was first included in 2010 in the Dripping Springs as a priority project in their master transportation plan. It came into the county master transportation plan in 2012. There was in 2016, the county updated its master transportation plan, and there were public meetings in Dripping Springs specific to it. In 2020, when I got into office, I set up a citizens advisory panel of residents along the proposed route. I've done at least 14 public meetings on it, some of which had over 250 people in attendance. And to hear whenever there's misinformation out here that this bond didn't pass my precinct, it did. I would encourage anyone to look at the vote total coming out of Precinct 4, and it passed my precinct. I can tell you the average citizen in my precinct looks at those improvement projects, and I'll use Sawyer Ranch as an example. The reason that pedestrian path is there is we are going to have 5,000 students on that roadway within the next 2 years. In fall of 2028, I'm going to have 5,000 students at the end of that road. And right now we have a sidewalk that dead ends maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles from there. And we are going to connect those schools. I have a 6A high school and an elementary school that have no pedestrian access right now. But again, that type of information was never, I'm sure it was never shared with your task force. And the reasoning for that was this task force from the onset, the selection process and the establishment process, it was not truly to try to solve a problem, in my view. My point is, if and when we move forward with another road bond, if and when we do additional projects like this, I am very supportive on the front end of having a citizens advisory panel with it. I think that's actually a good thing. When this was brought up during the road bond process, we had already voted to go to bond, and then the request was made to, hey, let's put together this advisory panel to advise on the projects in the bond. It had already happened. Very similarly, in this process, we were working on a time frame. We took the exact same thing that 65,000 residents in our county voted for, It passed 3 precincts, by the way. And in 2016, it didn't pass my precinct. That previous road bond did not, but it passed the other 3 precincts. This time, it was precinct 3 that did not pass this bond. I will tell you that we took those projects and put them straight into the CF. And so I think it's disingenuous whenever I know how many nights I've missed with my kids because I've been in public meetings. And I'm not even talking about last year, I did 87 HOA meetings. And I discussed transportation to everyone. You actually attended some of those.
And
so,
filmed you.
And I encouraged you to share it wherever you wanted to about those. And it's disingenuous to say my colleagues and I have not reached out to our constituents. I spend much more time with the general public than I do with my family at times. And I will tell you that the statements like that my fellow commissioners and I have not done what we can and when we could to try to talk to our constituents and to get feedback and to understand what these impacts are it's disingenuous, but more importantly, I think that one thing that I find in every one of these individual public meetings, HOA meetings in other words, other things, is you give somebody an hour to talk through the bigger picture. They know what happens like I know what happens at my HOA and in my neck of the woods and in my house. But one of the reasons that we're entrusted with an entire precinct is we have to go out and figure out what the best things are for all the constituents in that precinct. And I will tell you that I feel confident saying that my colleagues and I do that on a daily basis. And that's all I have to say. I'm sure you have plenty of comment. I'm
Yeah,
used to
a
that.
couple of things.
I'll just let you reply to it,
And
and then I'll have a
then I
final
would move on.
piece as well. Thank
Okay.
you, Commissioner.
A couple of things. You said the meeting came after the bond. That was a big mistake right there. That was just, we should have gotten information prior to the vote. We should have had all the information out there. And all I'm saying about the internet is it's so easy. You could have looked at every road, every map.
Just keep going.
Okay, everything that, here's what I'm trying to say. If you really want to know what the people of the county want, you can't have meetings. Old people, rich people, and people out of work, they can come to those meetings, and stakeholders. But there's a huge amount. We're talking 1% of the people went to these meetings out of the whole county, and we made policy out of that.
Thank you.
That's not representing your constituents.
And I want to
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I want to close and clarify a few things, and then we're going to move on to the next item. So the Fitzhugh Road project, it's really just a few clarification points I will make. The Fitzhugh Road project, originally it was a courtroom full of people that did not want the project as presented, and it was going to get voted into the bond. And I called a recess so that Commissioner Smith would edit it to be supported differently, and I'm glad that he took us up on that. All the things I say are recorded in this court of record, so I will speak with the most accuracy and pinpointed detail that I can provide you, but I'm paraphrasing. The Don't Do It projects, as Commissioner Smith pointed it out, this list doesn't say don't do it. It is approximately what you've said, Mr. Patterson, 75% of them go right now, do it, do it, do it. Certificates of obligation are a 3-year spend. If we go sell for that money, we have to say, what can we effectively do within 3 years? That's the window, that's the fuse of that borrowed money. And so the do it list is, I think, beyond that, but I don't make roads personally, so I don't know. But I believe it's a robust list, apparently 75% of it, good. The defer list is the walkway piece, that if it was to just be articulated that instead of taxpayer dollars to fund it, it's not against the project, it's against the project funding. So instead of, as an easy example, taxpayer dollars going to fund that walkway, that it be funded by the developer of that subdivision. And then that would just immediately bounce out from defer to do it, as an example. And then the delay is 3 items of this entire $500 million road bond. The delay is 3 items, and it is simply to say, committee it more, talk more, clarify more, edit more, and that's okay. So the don't do it doesn't exist. I'm sure, okay, this is another Commissioner Smith quote. Sorry, buddy, but I was writing down your comments. You said, I'm sure this was never shared with your task force. So just to give you a tiny little window into what the task force was and who was in there and what it entailed. I had numerous times before, during and after, asked for a community task force. I loved what we did as a court. I loved what we did as a court for the public open space process. I mean, we were stellar. I'm so proud of the city of San Marcos for what they do. They always have a magnificent community engagement tool. The way they put up their tripods, the way they do everything, magnificent community engagement. Numerous times I'd asked for this, and yes, even though the ship had left, I was still asking for it, also on the record. And even though Commissioner Smith said that he's supportive, but it was already after the fact and too late, once the lawsuit paused the whole thing, forced us to reset, shake the Etch-a-Sketch, if you will, and then have a discussion, a brand new discussion about certificates of obligation, which is just another mechanism to fund the $500 million road bond. It's just another tool. It's like grabbing a different credit card as the county. So there's an opportunity for us to get community engagement again, and it was also pushed aside without having the dollars committed and the task force on the rails, the funding on the rails, it was pushed to the side again. So I am supportive is a little bit weird. And the disingenuous statement of having hundreds of people at all these events, I just want you to know, I tried to go to every single one because I thank Gap Strategies for the work they did. We hired them. And I thank Gap Strategies for creating the community engagement pieces in all the different precincts. I tried to go to all of them. I went to as many as I could. But you're right, Mr. Patterson, some of those had a handful of people. Virtually, I would say honestly, for as important as it was, virtually none. So we checked the box, but I've been married, and I know this is boring to hear, I've been married 32 years. And what people feel and what people think can't be discounted. If the community feels like we didn't do enough, well then doggone it, we didn't do enough. I supported the flock cameras right in February. They're like, what changed? What changed? Well, our federal government changed. But that's the point. The community didn't like it. They didn't like the communication that was going on with privacy, with constitutional violations. And so, listening to the community, I said, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to support this flock expansion. So the more we listen to our community, the better we are. And I just want you to know, regardless of what this court does as a body, I've submitted this form, and thank you for the task force engagement. I submitted it to the county clerks. It is officially on the record. Mr. Patterson and everyone, Ms. Wesson, and everyone I can see here that was a part of this task force, it was a county-wide effort. I thank you for your engagement, and although it was characterized that it was a anti-development task force, clearly when more than 75% of the projects are green-lighted immediately, go do it, that's obviously not true. And the mischaracterization is not useful, because the more we listen to our community, and even if it's a squeaky wheel, 0.5%, I don't care. The main thing in my heart is to be as most useful as possible to the greater good, and that's my only intent, and I won't blame you if you feel grateful, and I won't blame you if you feel worthless, but I am grateful because you dedicated time, bandwidth, and now this is forever on the record. Let's go on to the next one. Please open F1.